Welcome everyone back to another video. My name is Justus and I. This week we're going over the Mk7 Golf. Been a bit of a hiatus, but in the meantime, the Golf has received Bilstein B14 coilovers. Obviously, as you can see, it's sitting a little bit lower. It's not slammed. I did that on purpose, and that's why I went with the Bilsteins. But this video, I want to talk about these coilovers and why they are the best bang for buck, period, for the Mk7 platform, specifically the GTI, but you know they're all the same. So let's get into the intro. Let's start talking about these coilovers. So starting off, as you can see, the ride height is slightly lower. It is even ride height on all four corners. However, there's a little bit more of a gap in the rear, which I plan to fix in the front. Could just be how the arches are designed on the car. However, the coilovers, Bilstein B14 PSSs, they are adjustable height, but not adjustable dampening. The reason I did this is because I had on the Mk5 K-Sport coilovers. Now those had adjustable dampening, and I did mess around with it a bit, but I never found myself using it to its full ability on a daily car. So I found this time going with a fixed rate coilover, or at least for dampening wise, made more sense for me. And it pays off because the ride quality in this is near OEM, and it's a lot lower and it handles better. So like it absorbs bumps and cracks in the road the exact same as it did stock. I have no issues with it there. But it feels flatter in the corners, like dead flat. Wheel hop has been eliminated a little bit. And these coilovers aren't going to break the bank. They come out to about $1,200, I believe. If I could be wrong on some sites, and some other sites like $1,400. But these are the mid-range Bilstein. If you go up to the B14, I believe that's adjustable dampening, which I'm sure for some of you will want. But for me, in this instance, the fixed rate dampening is amazing and it rides so good. Now, I didn't film an installation video on this. I wish I did, but it wasn't as hard as some people make it out to be. I disconnected the drive shaft from the inside on the transmission side, and enabled me to move the knuckle down enough to get that strut out with two people. I do have to note I did have two people helping me with, or another person helped me with this, but it got the hub out enough to get the stock strut out. Obviously going back together was super easy. The rears were even easier. I did do new top mounts in the front, but not the rear. The rears looked okay. If I do have a spare set, if I need to replace them at some point. And the installation, like all Golfs for a long time, not too bad. Again, did this in about a night. Took a while. One thing I do want to note, and most people probably won't tell you this, if you are planning to go maybe even an inch lower, get adjustable end links. I have a new pair sitting in the car to actually replace the stock ones, because the stock ones bound the sway bars so much, or put preload on the sway bars, that it actually tore one of the bushings in the rear. So I am going to replace all those with adjustable end links and hopefully dial in the sway bars a lot more and get an even better ride quality out of it, because right now the sway bars on the front and rear are tensioned, which is not good and not ideal. So I've been driving it for about a month now. It did settle just a tiny bit, not a lot. It settled probably like a quarter, no, not even, like an eighth of an inch. So right out of the box where you set it at is kind of where it's going to be. Super easy. It's still a bucket system in the rear, like I believe most coilovers are for this platform, for the Mk7 platform. But the adjustability is great. This is not a coilover set where you can slam it. If you want to slam your car, K-Sports are probably going to be the better option. I had those on my Mk5 and it was low and I could still go a lot lower. But obviously that is not the goal with my dailies. I'm trying to build them to be performance funness where I can beat the piss out of them and like at a moment's notice and not worry about it at all. So this setup for me is perfect. It lowered the car just enough where I don't have to worry about anything and I can still benefit from the fact of having nicer coilovers. Now, I did also do these coilovers as my stock shocks were blown. So it kind of just made sense. And from an OEM replacement standpoint, the cost is so close that I would say the Bilsteins are a better option. Even if you're just doing struts, it, like I said, rides like OEM, but you get such a nicer, flatter feel in the corners, and the wheel hop is so much less from a dig. It's kind of insane. I do plan on adding a dog bone insert to the mount to also eliminate the last bit of wheel hop. This car's stock power. I'm sure if you're making more than stock power, you're still going to deal with it. But from a stock point of view, absolutely fantastic. Let's talk competitors. There are a few other competitors out there on the market when it comes to coilovers, especially for these cars, or any car at this point now in time. There's so many brands out there making parts and components for all these cars. The main ones I see people comparing the Bilsteins to are KWs and STs. Now STs are basically KW V1s, or whatever their base package coilover is with the fixed dampening, or maybe it's adjustable. I'm not super well versed. I looked into KWs a little bit, found that for the same price point that people enjoyed the Bilsteins a little bit more. However, I believe the KWs give you a little bit more adjustability. Now the STs are the exact same internal shock if I'm mistaken. However, it is a different metal. It's not anodized or it's not coated on the outside. So if you're living in some place that experiences salt, maybe that's something to consider. But it seems like the STs are a good option as well, just for a little bit more money saving. I do want to touch on, and again, competitor coilovers may include this. Bilsteins in the front, at least the front coilovers, do have an internal bump stop, so you don't have to do any transferring of bump stops from one to the other. You simply have to put on a new top hat, basically to the strut, or a strut top mount, strut hat in the front, and that's all you have to do. It comes with a new nut, comes with all the other hardware you really need. You just have to put a new mount, or a new bushing, if you will, on top of the strut. In the rear, you do have to transfer over the bump stop from the original coilover. Some people debate this to cut or not to cut the stock bump stop. At my ride height, I decided to cut it just a notch. I still notice that I have enough travel that I'm not going to be bumping on or riding on the bump stop at this height. So I cut it a little bit to keep the ride height good, and so that it wasn't resting on the stock bump stop. Because if you guys don't know, the stock bump stop on these cars are massive. They're huge in the rear. So if you're going more than an inch, I think, maybe more than an inch and a half, maybe start considering cutting the stock bump stop. From what I can tell, the Bilsteins compared to the other competitors are amazing. You do pay a little bit more. I think it's only like 100, 200 bucks more than the other coilovers that I had mentioned. But again, they're comparable in every way. It really comes down to your brand devotion, if you're super into that, or if you think you want to go a different route or want to go a little bit lower. Again, these aren't super low. You can lower the car quite a bit, but they're not going to get you slammed. If you want to get slammed, again, K-Sports, maybe the KWs. I'm not too sure if those allow you to go super low. But at this ride height on stock wheels, you're going to have a little bit of a gap even if you max them out. Another thing I should note is that this car does have spacers. It's just the ECS kit, whatever they call it, the flush kit. But it is just a spacer in the front and the rear to bring it out to the fender a little bit more. Eventually this car will get dedicated wheel setup with a good tire package that will fill out the fenders, I believe, a little bit more with a good meaty tire. And again, will be a little bit more flush than it is now. So let's talk rubbing. Some people do experience rubbing when slamming their cars. This is not slammed, but I can confirm you will rub in the front a tiny bit under hard compression, at least at my ride height. And this isn't that low again. I still have probably a finger to 2 finger gap in the front between the tire and the fender. There is a fender screw in here. You can do the fender screw mod. It's not really mod. You just remove the screw from the fender liner, tuck the fender liner behind the tab, and then tuck that tab up against the fender arch, and that will prevent it from rubbing. I've yet to do it because, again, I only rub under really hard compression, and I've only rubbed really bad once or twice. So I'm not too worried about it. It's not affecting my tire life really at all. But when I do the sway links, or the sway bar end links, I am gonna do the fender mod, and I'll let you guys know again how that goes. Besides everything I just touched on, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There's a lot more to it than just this. Again, I do want to do an actual driving video so you guys get kind of an idea of how it rides in the cabin just based on the camera's oscillation and all that. But I can confirm and tell you that if you just want to improve your daily car, if your car is a daily and you're not planning on slamming it for looks or anything, and you want a better, firmer ride, and you don't have DSS or DCC, whatever the hell the adaptive suspension is, Bilstein B14 PSSs. Fantastic. They did the job amazingly, and for the price, I think they beat pretty much all their competitors in quality and the way they look and feel and ride and etc. So what's next for the Golf? Hopefully we're going to tune this thing soon, so there will obviously be a video on that. I do want to do some more Z stuff. I did a small thing today, including a new seat bracket from Calvin, which is Street Faction, which is awesome. Fits amazing. But besides that, I'm done here. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this convinced you, or at least gave you some insight that the Bilstein B14s are a good coilover, and they're not bad for this platform, and they're really nice. You should buy some if you're considering coilovers. I'm not sponsored. I like these a lot. This is the first pair of coilovers that I've actually genuinely really enjoyed. So there you have it. If you guys want to see more videos, check them out below. There's a bunch of drifting, building cars, a lot more golf videos. It seems like you guys are enjoying the golf more than the Z right now, which I'm cool with, because I like both of these things equally. So if you want to check that all out, it's on the channel. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.